do you become a talent magnet in the procurement and supply chain space?
Well, there are a couple of key things you have to do. You have to tell this great story that we have to tell about what it means to be in procurement, especially for younger people who are looking for that first ensconcement in their corporate careers. You have an opportunity to interact with CEOs and CFOs of your suppliers when you're 24 years old. You have an opportunity to make multi-million-dollar decisions on behalf of your company. You have an opportunity to impact sustainability, to execute your corporate social responsibility strategy or plan on behalf of the company, to improve the standard of living in countries where you do business by sourcing there. So for people in that up-and-coming generation, those values, those purposes are very important. The opportunity to accelerate, they want to work fast, right, and get ahead fast. So to marry the opportunities you have to get ahead with your ability to make an impact, if you can tell that story effectively, if you go in and say, we're all about reducing costs year over year, then no one's interested. So shifting your perspective, telling the story that is the real story, I think is the first way to get it. Second way is to give people a little more autonomy. Recognize that there are great sources of ideas and hear them out. Yeah, you've been there and you've done it and you've heard this thing before. Let them pitch it to you. And maybe there'll be a little nugget you can grab onto. Give them that to run with. It gives them a sense of empowerment, and they'll be very happy to have the opportunity to do their best work for you. So there's simple things to do that allow people to flower, and then you become known as a person who's found great talent, cultivated great talent, and ultimately launched great talent into your company, and this is a little bit of unorthodoxy, but if they go outside your company to some other place, they become evangelists for you as a leader and the company they came from.
Fantastic. I totally agree with that. So, coming from ISM, what is the future role for associations, and how can certifications help the development of the individual and the organisation, do you think?
Yeah, well, we've been around 102 years, so the future of an association really matters to me. Because the 102 years have been very successful, but we can't continue to execute that playbook and expect to be around. It's changing. An association used to be a professional society, was what we actually are in ISM. It used to function as that place where people felt obliged to belong, where they met and exchanged ideas about best practice and developed a network for career purposes. But people don't have a sense of needing to belong to professional society for the sake of belonging like they once did. They need value for money. They expect a professional body to be able to provide tools and skills that enable them to be successful at a critical moment in their career. I've got a new assignment, I've just been promoted, my boss has asked me to take something on, I'm not really sure I know how to do it. I can go to my professional society and get those skills and resources to make me successful. Once we do that 2 or 3 times, we've created credibility with that person. They want to become a member then, and they want to give back. The other key, and this is an evolving role for associations, we're becoming data brokers. We reflect back to the profession everything that we learn about the profession. Because we deal with all industries, all geographies, we have a broad view of what's happening. And in the certification role in particular, it's the professionals in the field who tell us what competency, a certification measures competency. Tells us what competency is at a given moment in time across all industries. I might be in oil and gas, and my view of procurement and supply chain is based on the oil and gas industry. I don't know what's happening in automotive or pharmaceuticals or food and beverage or financial services, and yet I can learn from them. So ISM can be that broker of data that reflects back to everybody in the profession what's happening, what skills. In our case right now, S&OP is becoming a core skill in procurement. It used to be considered a separate function. Now it's considered an integral function to procurement. So we can reflect that new learning of the evolution of the profession back to the profession at large, and that's a different role.
You've just been talking to us about what are the traits required to be a truly modern and digital CPO. Could you explain that?
Yeah, there are a few sometimes paradoxes that I think you have to embrace. Openness is very important. Openness to change, to developing. Openness to sharing who you are, letting people know. CPOs have incredibly responsible jobs. They're traveling around the globe, using digital communication tools to let your team know, hey, this is me going into the boardroom right now for the board meeting. that gives them a sense of how important. My boss's boss is in with the board of directors. That means what I do is important as in terms of the board's perception of it. So using those tools to get that word out, and then finally allowing your people to develop to their full potential and move on. Maybe it's within your company, and now you've got evangelists in other functions who understand the importance of procurement, or maybe it's outside the four walls of your company, but they still reflect back on their time working for you, and they say, I learned so much. I recommend that you go work for that person. There's no better reputation to have than someone who's seen as a cultivator of talent, both inside the company and outside.